On Adobe Express. Welcome back to the new school year. I know you've been back for a while. I looked at the calendar and saw how early you were back, and I was thinking, oh my goodness me, I don't think I'd be able to cope with that. Yeah, I'm Meredydd Jones. So I work for Adobe as part of the UK education team, but I've only been with Adobe since January. So before then, I worked in a Welsh medium comprehensive school in South Wales for 17 years. And before then, I worked as a peripatetic music teacher. So I kind of started my journey in education working with primary age kids. And then, as I said, 17 years in a secondary school. I started off teaching music, and then I kind of got booted over to the IT department because nobody really knew what they were doing over there. And I seemed quite keen. And ended up just being responsible for digital skills. And then from there, this kind of opportunity came along to work with Adobe so that I could kind of do sessions for schools all across the UK. And I grabbed it with both hands, and it's been fun so far. So it's really exciting to see you getting access to Express through Glow. This is something that in Wales we're familiar with. We've got our equivalent to Glow is called Hub, and Express has been a part of that for years. And it's been great to see, how it can be applied across all the age ranges and across different disciplines. And there's some new features come into it recently that kind of open the doors to older learners as well. So we're going to run through some of the basics this afternoon. Okay, so you can see my dashboard here. I'm on the Adobe Express homepage. So when you log into Adobe Express, this is what you'll see. This is the education homepage. Now, the iPad app has had a revamp and now looks exactly like this as well when you launch the homepage. When you open up the iPad app, it looks exactly like this. And the experience of using it on the iPad and the browser are pretty much identical now, apart from one or two few things. Okay, so right away at the beginning, you can see on the right-hand side of my screen, I've got some coloured tiles. Okay, so no, my screen zoom isn't working, that's fine. Okay, so I've got these 4 coloured tiles: make a video, create a graphic, animate your voice, and build a web page. And that, in a nutshell, kind of tells you about the kind of stuff that you can do. Okay, so if you're looking for a quick jumping off point of where can I use Express with my learners without having to really dig into all of the skills yourself, if you just want to start off with some of the basics, then definitely a great place to start is by creating a graphic. So you can see there the green tile there, create a graphic. So if I click on that, it's going to open up the all-in-one editor. So this is called the all-in-one editor because actually, even though this is to create a graphic right now, if I was editing a video or making an animation, it would all happen in here. So it's kind of one tool set that the learners have got to do graphic projects like I'm going to show right now, but also moving video stuff, animated stuff, voiceovers, and all of that. It's all in this all-in-one editor. Okay, so let's imagine that our learners have been collecting information. Maybe we've been studying ocean life. So maybe my learners have got some information that they've put together. Oops, that is the wrong link that I'm trying to copy into there. Let me just grab the correct link. So I've got a Google Doc, and I've popped the Google Doc link into the chat as well if you want to play along. So it's the example information for an infographic. Okay, so if I pop that in, here we go, let's get rid of that bit. You'll all get to, here we go, this Google Doc. So we get our learners to do a lot of research and find information, and maybe some of that's just written in an exercise book. So how can we take that to the next level and present it in an interesting way? So an infographic is definitely a great way to do that. Let's look at just this top of this doc where I've just got some headline facts about the great white shark. Okay, and let's turn that into a really eye-catching infographic. Right, so over on Express, what you've got here is, I'll close this template panel down. You can see that you've got some buttons across the top in this top ribbon. Then you've got the toolbar down the left-hand side. Now, hopefully, none of those things look too terrifying, because I know we've all worked with apps before, and I certainly have, where there's buttons there and your learners ask you, sir, miss, what does this button do? And say, I don't know, and don't press it, please, because things will break. Hopefully, when you look at the Express interface, you kind of feel that you know already what all these buttons do. Okay. Now, on the left-hand side toolbar, we've got 3 buttons: Media, Text, and Elements. And I'm going to build this great white shark infographic just by using those 3 buttons. And again, if you're just starting out your journey with Express, then I would do exactly this with your learners. I'd bring them in, say, right, we're going to make an infographic on whatever you've been studying so far this term, and I would just point them towards Media, Text, and Elements on the left-hand side, and let's have a look at what we can build. Okay, so if I go to Elements, first of all, you can see at the top, we've got different tabs. All the elements, design assets, backgrounds, and I can move over. We've got shapes, icons, and charts as well. So I'm going to start off with a background, and I'll just search for ocean in here, ocean. Or I could search for just the word blue, and Express will kind of find those things for me. So before using Express, before I had access to Express, I probably would have sent my learners out to maybe Google Images to start finding these backgrounds and these images. And then, you know, you don't know what they'd find. Maybe they'd find a good photo, but when they copy and paste it over, it's all pixelated when they make it bigger. Or maybe they'd come across some kind of inappropriate stuff, and then I'd have to write some paperwork that I always hated doing. So by keeping them in the app in Express, they've got access to, you know, tens of thousands of high quality licensed images that are filtered for education use. Okay, so I can confidently tell them, yeah, go in there, scroll through, have a good rummage around, and pick whatever you want. Now, because I'm searching for backgrounds, I can just click and it'll apply it to my page. I don't need to resize it or anything like that. It knows that I want to add a background. If I want to change it to a different background, I just click on another background and add it in. And as you can see, because we're doing that inside Express, they're really good quality, and you know, we don't need to kind of filter out rubbish stuff that you sometimes copy and paste over and it doesn't look great. Okay, brilliant. So that's my first thing added in from the Elements button on the left-hand side. Remember that I was telling you we're just going to concentrate on these 3 buttons: Media, Text, and Elements. So let's jump over to Media now then. So in Media, you're going to find photos, videos, and audio. So in photos, again, this is access to the entire Adobe stock library filtered for educational use. So I get tens and tens of thousands of images here. So if I just search for shark in there, I'm going to get 187 results, and I know they're all fine for me to use, and they're going to be really good quality as well. So I can scroll through, pick one that I like, choose the one I want, and when I do, because I always can't decide on these things. Is anybody else terrible at actually committing to anything digitally? I am. I can't commit to fonts.
Takes me ages. I get lost in the content.
Can't commit to fonts. Can't commit to photos. I'm terrible. Even though the undo button is a thing, it seems to be some kind of huge life decision. Right, okay. Now then, with any images that you bring into Express, when you click on it, you get the image editing panel on the left-hand side. And you see the first button there on the top left is this happy-looking dog called that will remove the background. So if I click on that, and you can see that that's a difficult background to remove from that shark as well, because you know it's a kind of bluish shark on a bluish background. But I'm really happy with that. It's done a great job of removing that background for me. Also, for some bizarre reason, I think it would make more sense if the shark was looking in from the left-hand side of the page rather than the right-hand side of the page. So we've got flip horizontal, flip vertical buttons down here that you can just click on really easily. And there we go. There we go. We've got our shark there peeking in. Oh, you're writing about me? Let me have a look. Right. So let's get some text in. We've looked at media. We've looked at elements. And now let's look at text. So I'm going to click on text on the left-hand side. Okay, so we've done elements. We've done media. Now we're in text. and we're going to add our text. So let's just type the title in here first of all. The Great White Shark. Great. Now, you can use this text box as you've used every other text box in your life before, using the kind of editing. I'm trying to zoom in. It's not working. Okay, don't worry. On the left-hand side panel here, there we go. You've got your font picker here in the drop-down, and then you've got the font family here, font size, bold, italic, underline, your alignment options. These just cycle through center, left, and right, and then you've got bullets and numbering here, and then you've got letter spacing and line spacing there. So these are all things that are pretty familiar to us all. But I quite like using Express in a different way. So rather than using the font size, I'll actually use the corner handles here, and that'll just change the font size for me. You can see the font number there is actually changing as I'm resizing the box. So from a design point of view, that's a nice way of working with font sizes. Also, when to break a line. So rather than getting your learners to commit to hitting enter when they want to break a line, and then when they decide they want to change font, everything goes haywire. Please tell me that I'm not the only person who's had that, where you get your learners type a load of stuff into a box, and then you tell them, oh, let's just change the font because you got more room there, and then when they change the font, everything goes bananas because they've been using return. So rather than doing that, you can break your lines using these long side handles, you see? So you can just break your lines like this. So don't get your learners to commit to kind of forcing paragraphs just to bring it down a line. You can always edit that just by using the handles on the box. Right, okay. So let's bring that text up. Wonderful. And let's search for a font. Now then, the first bit of AI that we're going to be talking about tonight is AI recommended fonts. So Express will look at the imagery and the text that you've got on your page, and it'll actually recommend some fonts that it thinks is going to suit your design. So this one, I think, is a really great one for a great white shark infographic. And it's a really nice way to kind of audition these fonts. Just scroll through, and if you'd like to see them bigger, then you can just click View All, and it'll show it even larger. I'm going to go with this font here. That's great. Okay. Now then, the color isn't working for me. So you can see on the left-hand side here in the text editing panel, we've got fill color. So it's the great white shark. So why not go for a white text? And that's great. You can also add an outline if you want. So I've got this outline thickness toggle. Just bring that up. This is looking great. I'm really happy with this. So I'll just resize this a little bit, drag that up. Now then, what about the color of this outline? I quite like this dark blue that's up at the top here. So it'd be really nice if that kind of blended in. So this outline color that I've got for my text, I can just click on it. And rather than pick a color from this kind of big color palette, I can use the eyedropper tool, this guy here. So if I click on the eyedropper tool, I can now pick any color from my design, like this one, and it'll apply that color then to my outline. Cool. Right. Do you remember that line spacing? I'd like to tuck that bottom line up a bit closer to the top line, and I'm really happy with that. Okay, great. So far we've already used the media, the text, and the elements. So let's look now back into our elements, because I want to share these facts, if you remember, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 facts about the great white shark that I'd like to share on my infographic. So I'd like to split up the rest of my infographic into 6 zones so that I can kind of get my info in there. Now then, what can I use to split this up? Well, let's jump into elements. And what about looking for some kind of bubble? Okay, so I could search in all for bubble. And you'll see design assets, backgrounds, shapes, and icons as well. So the shapes are kind of speech bubbles. Then we've got icons in here. You could bring those in. Now, icons, think of icons as clip art. You can change the color of those as you like. But I'm always intrigued with the design assets, because these are usually a little bit, here you go, a little bit more fancy. And you may have worked out that I'm a bit of a fancy Dan. So I'm going to choose one of these. If I'd like to see them all, you can just click View All, and then it'll just take you into the design asset bubbles. Now then, I'm going to grab that first one. I think it looks great. And you can see that design assets have usually got some kind of transparency built into them. I can see that blue background through the bubble. Now, that's not something you could do even by bringing in an image. Sorry, couldn't get my words out there. By bringing in an image and removing the background, you still wouldn't have that transparency through it. So that's what's cool about the design assets. Right, let's pop that bubble up there where I want it. And I'm going to kind of roughly eyeball how big that needs to be if I need another 5 of them. So I'm happy with that as a size. And now I'm going to duplicate it. Now then, with that bubble selected, you can see I've got this 3 dots menu up here. If I click on it, I can duplicate. And there we go. You could use a keyboard shortcut. Control D will do that as well. If you're teaching your learners about keyboard shortcuts, if you're doing like Control C, Control V, that kind of thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. And now I'm just going to scatter these around a little bit. Maybe one of them needs to be bigger. Another one needs to be smaller. I'd like these bubbles to be unique. So maybe I could use the flip horizontal, flip vertical. Oops. I don't know what I pressed there, but I know what I'm going to press next. It's the undo button on the top. There we go. Maybe you can spin them around as well using the rotation tool. And there we go. Great. I'm happy with that. Right then, let's start thinking about building up our infographic with some facts. So I'm going to just add another text box. Text. Add your text. And what's my first bit of text here? It is status vulnerable. The great white shark is vulnerable. Not from me, it ain't. Right, and I'm going to put a colon in there. Right, now then, let's think about a font again here. So you can see I've got recommended fonts just popping up straight away on the left-hand side. Now then, you want your actual information to be in a font that's nice and easy to read. There we go. This one's great. Okay, so I'm just pop that in there. Pop it into the bubble. Again, you could add an outline to this if you want. So maybe I'll just pop a white outline on that. Yeah, that makes it stand off a bit better. And then maybe the actual status title there, I'm going to change the color of that to be a blue. There we go. Yeah, I like that. Right, I've done that. Now then, you remember how I duplicated the bubble? Now I can just duplicate this text box 5 times. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's as simple as that. I can now pop back to my research document and copy and paste that information across. Maybe I won't even do that right now because I'm sure we all know how to copy and paste text. So if there are any questions at all about what I've shown you so far, or something you'd like me to just run over again because I blasted through this too fast, then just let me know. Is there something that you'd like me to just show you again? Something you'd like me to remind you, or any questions at all about what we've seen so far? So you're welcome to pop that in the chat. I can see the chat, but also if you just want to turn your mic on and shout at me, then that's encouraged as well. In the meantime, I'll just copy and paste these over because, you know, OCD is a thing. Everyone is silent. That either means they've gone or they're having fun playing around with Express.
They're super busy playing around. That's what it is. We've got one question just come in there.
Those are the only 3 options. Right. How did I get the bubbles? Yeah, so the bubbles are in the... So do you remember, everything we've added to this page come from either media, text, or elements. So elements, within elements, you've got design assets. Okay, and I searched in there for bubble. Now, you could search in photos. You could go to media, photos, and search for bubble. Okay, and you'll get a bubble like this. Now, I could just bring in this bubble here and try to remove the background. Okay, and it probably will remove the background, even though that's pretty tricky. Yeah, it has done it. But you see, the difference is that I can't see through that bubble because it's just kind of cut it out of the photo. It's still cool, but it doesn't look like a bubble because it isn't transparent. Now, that's what I really love about the elements, is that a lot of these things, that when you bring them in, they'll have transparency built into them. Okay, so in the design assets, and I search for bubble in there. And there's loads of really fun stuff in there. Just even things like this brush stroke, you see that it's there. And when I bring it in, yeah, it's kind of got that transparency to it. So there's just hours and hours of fun by going through things that are in design assets and just playing around with them. Okay, are there any other questions there about infographics? I know I haven't finished, but you know what I was going to do next. I'm just going to copy and paste text over, and it's done. Right, you may notice that I haven't actually named this, and you haven't seen me save this file at all. Now, Express is always saving everything you do automatically. So for those of you that might have dodgy internet in school, this is an absolute charm, because if your internet drops, or if a Chromebook runs out of battery, that learner isn't going to lose anything that they've done. Okay, Express is saving everything all the time, even if you haven't even named the project. You can see here that this infographic is called Untitled 9th of September 2024 at 16:05:10. So once you start doing anything, it just saves it with that kind of untitled title, and then will automatically save everything you do. Now, at any point, it's always a good idea to rename it with something sensible. So you can just click in there, get rid of that crazy title, and in here, I can pop in a sensible title. So infographic GW Shark. GW Shark sounds like a cricketer from the 1800s with a really long beard. Right, okay, so infographic GW Shark, there we go. And that's now renamed it. Okay, it was all saved anyway. I wouldn't have lost anything, but now I've named it with a sensible name. Right, how do your learners get this from Express? What do they do with this once they're done with it? If you fancy, why don't you pop in the chat, where do you get your learners to store their digital work at the moment? If your learners have made a piece of digital work, where do they store it? Teams. So some of that, yeah. So you collect it in on Teams. Great. OneDrive. So pop it into a OneDrive, or pop it into a Google Drive. Yeah. Pop it into Teams through their Teams page. Yeah. There we are. So we all know that that's going to be different across schools, right? And in Wales, it's the same. Some schools use Teams. Some schools use Google Classroom. Some schools just use OneDrive or Google Drive. And then in Wales as well, a lot of schools use something called Just Too Easy. I'm not sure if that's in Scotland or not. And then you've got your My Files there. So, we know in Adobe that not all of you are going to want to store this in the same way. Now, the first thing to say is that it's automatically saved into your learners. They've got their own folder within Express. Okay, so if I pop back to the dashboard just by clicking on the Express logo in the top left-hand corner, every one of you and your learners have got a Your Stuff folder. So everything you make in Express lives in your Stuff folder. Okay, so that's fine. If you just wanted to leave it there, that's fine. But most of the time, you'll probably want them to kind of bring it into somewhere else where all of their other stuff is. Otherwise, we've got things all over the place. So here are your simple options for getting your work from Express into anywhere you want, really. On the top right-hand corner, you've got the Share button. Okay, and you can click Share. And you can see there you've got Google Classroom and Teams as two options. So you could, your learners could share this directly into an assignment in Google Classroom or Teams. They could also click on View Only Link, create a link, and that then is going to give them a URL. It's kind of like sharing sharing something from a Google Drive or sharing Google Doc. So it's view only, nobody can edit it. It produces a URL, and they could send that into you. So I know in Classroom and on Teams, you can just attach a link. So that could be handy if you want something in from them and you haven't set it up as an assignment. They could just send that in as a comment on the stream or whatever you do. There we go. There's the link there. Or otherwise, I quite like having a kind of digital version of this. And you might as well. You might want them. No, I want this thing to be in their Google Drive or in their OneDrive. Well, you've got the download button here. So you can click download, and then you could download it as a PNG. So if you want this just to be a kind of digital image, a graphic, you download it as a PNG, and then they can drag that into whatever folder they want. Or if you know you're going to be printing it out, you can also download as PDF. download that to the device, and then it's printable, or obviously you could drag that into any folder you want as well. So kind of getting your stuff out of Express into wherever you want it to be is nice and easy. Whatever system, whatever VLE you use, whatever system you've got for keeping your kids' digital work, then this is going to be absolutely fine for you. Okay, cool. Right, that's the graphics side. We've gone over it, okay? And I would not hold back. I wouldn't hesitate from doing something like this with your learners tomorrow. Just text, elements, and media. That's all they need to know. The other stuff that's here, themes are just color themes, which you can use, and then they'll just change your font colors and your icon colors automatically. You got background color. So if I didn't have a background, and just get rid of my my wonderful ocean background, you could just set a background color. Okay, if you just want a plain background, you could just do that. So that speaks for itself. Margins is if you're working with PDFs and you want that kind of line where you have a little bit of bleed. So that's not something that learners really are going to worry about. But again, even if you do click on it and tick everything, it's not gonna break anything. You can translate your document into over 170 languages, which is fun. And then if you kind of decide, oh, do you know what? I started this off as a poster, but I'd rather it be landscape, or I'd rather it be square, or any other kind of shape. You can resize your project by choosing a custom size or choosing from all of these fun presets. And you can resize it, for example, to a YouTube banner, or you can duplicate and resize. So what that's done, you can see, is it's kept my original graphic, and now it's given me kind of a second page in this project where it's resized that, so I could kind of move stuff around and have different versions of the same doc. That's really handy for you as well from a kind of school admin point of view. If you're making maybe a poster for an open evening, you make the poster, and then you think, hang on, I want to post this to Instagram. Well, let's just resize it to an Instagram post so it makes it square, move things around a bit, and you haven't had to start from scratch. Okay, great. Let's jump back to the dashboard, to the home page, and let's have a look at what else we've got here. Now then, this is probably a really good time for me to bring your attention to what we offer as well as a UK team. So I'm not just here to kind of shout at you for an hour on Teams and then you never hear from me again. So we've got a program of stuff that we run all of the times. Everything's totally for free to help you guys out. Okay, so you can see in the chat there, we've got our live lessons. And if you follow that link, bit.ly/Adobe Leaders, you can see all of our live lessons. So these are hugely popular. We get thousands of kids joining us on these every week. And this is how it works. You'll get your learners to log into Express. And then our live lesson, it streams to YouTube, to StreamYard, which is our streaming platform, and also to Twitter. So, if you got YouTube blocked, there's an alternative place for you to see it. So pop the live stream up on your whiteboard with the speakers on. And then we will actually teach your learners how to make something fun, really similar to what I just did there, really, with that great white shark infographic. And we run these every week. So last week we did a kind of back to school special. This Thursday and Friday, it's Roald Dahl Day. So if you want your learners to do something for Roald Dahl Day, and you're not quite confident about using Express and leading a session yourself, then why not get us to lead the session? Get them logged in, and we'll take them through 2 activities. And I can see there you got Scotland-specific sessions as well. That's amazing. Cool. That's really great that Glow are putting those on for you. That's awesome. Is there a target age range for the live lesson? Yeah, so our live lessons are kind of 7 to 11. So Key Stage 2, that kind of age. Really, I'd say kind of year 4, 5, and 6. But we do try and keep it relevant for year 3 as well, because we do get a lot of year 3 kids coming along. But it's probably more tuned for year 4, 5, and 6. Now, if you can't get that to work, you can't slot that into your timetable, or you haven't got enough devices to get the class going, we've also got lesson packs, so I've posted that in there as well. So these aren't made by some random Americans for us. These are made by us in the UK in response to requests from I can't speak today. UK-based teachers. So it's all the stuff that you'd expect. So we got things like Romans, Vikings, World War II, diversity, rainforests. It's kind of, all the things that UK schools kind of go over. We've got a huge playlist of 10-minute lesson packs there for you. We also run ACE training, so Adobe Creative Educators Level 1 and Level 2 training for practitioners, any school staff, teachers and all school staff. There's a link there for you as well. So that's a 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. session where we have a discussion about creativity in education. You do some hands-on stuff. In fact, it's that great white shark graphic. It's something like that, okay? So, and then that'll give you a professional development certificate that you can put in your professional development folder and a digital badge, if that's your thing. Right, okay, let's move ahead then with what else can we do in Express. Got some comments here. All right, so second and third level, is that your equivalent to kind of year 4, 5, and 6? Yeah, there we are. So that kind of 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, that kind of thing, top of primary school. Lesson packs are awesome. We're using them as intros and also as CLPL. I think that's kind of CPD for me. Yeah, for all staff as they learn with their class. Yeah, exactly. Great. Can you access these live lessons on other days? Yes, you can. Yeah, so if you register for them, you'll get the link that takes you to the live lesson also works as a link to the recording. And a lot of our schools do that. They'll just hop on whenever it suits them. Did you say the live lesson this week is Roald Dahl themed? I did. Yes, I did. So if you pop on to that bit.ly/Adobe Leaders, you can just sign up there. And when you sign up, you'll just be sent an Outlook calendar invite. And on there, you've got the links to the live streams and some information about the activities that we'll be doing as well. Okay, and they're loads of fun. They're loads of fun. Okay, brilliant. Right, what else can we do? Well, let's just have a quick look at making a video. Now then, editing videos is something that I know a lot of teachers in Wales specifically always used to ask me, like, what can I do about editing videos? What app do I need? And then we'd have some schools using iMovie on iPads, but then they didn't have enough iPads for everyone, and it was difficult. So Express Make a Video is a video editor. If you want to edit videos, everything that you want to do, editing video, you can do it by using the all-in-one editor here. So I'll click on this orange tile, making a video. And as you can see, you're like, oh, is this again? Yeah, this is the all-in-one editor. So you've got the same tools across the top. You've got the same tools down the side. The only thing that's different is that we've got a timeline across the bottom because obviously time exists in this. In a printout poster, time doesn't exist. It's just a snapshot. So the only thing that's different is we've got that timeline across the bottom. Green screens. Now then, I bet a lot of you just groaned when I said that. So green screens, you're like, oh, goodness me. That thing that's gathering dust in the back of your store cupboard with one broken leg and no bulbs. You can leave that alone. You never need a green screen again, because remember that amazing remove background tool for images? Well, that works for video as well in Express. Okay, and you can have whatever you want in the background. It'll work its magic and get rid of it. Okay, so you don't need to use a green screen anymore. If you do use a green screen, it makes it even easier for it to get rid of the background. Right. So what can we do here? Well, again, I would tell your learners to start off just with media, text, and elements. So you've seen all the fun stuff that we did with the Great White Shark poster. If I click on media, now of course this time, rather than just go searching in the photos, I could search in videos. Now you could add photos. Of course you can add photos to a video project. So you could bring that in. But let's bring in a video, right? So if I search for videos here, and let's maybe look for shark again. Let's just stay with my theme. We've got all of these cool, how many results? 68 video results for sharks. Now then, I'm not going to ask you to put comments in because I don't think we're allowed to have swearing in the chat. But if you've ever sent your learners to try and find video clips, download them, and upload them to a video editing software, that is a gigantic headache. I used to do it in school, and it used to give me nightmares. So, you know, the fact that I can just stay within Express and search for really high quality video clips is amazing. Right, okay, so say that I bring in this, I think it's a shark. I've got my playhead here. There we go. So I can scrub across the timeline with the playhead at the bottom and not have to worry about copyright. Absolutely. Yeah, and again, here in Wales, we've got something called the DCF, the Digital Competence Framework. And part of that is that, you know, not only are learners meant to learn to respect copyright, they're actually meant to learn about copyright. So what's fun about that, well, maybe not fun, but what's interesting about that is that you can click on any of these things that you bring in Express, photos, videos, elements. And if you click up at the top left here on these three dots, you can see the source info. And here you can actually see the name, who created this, where it's come from, and then you can learn more if you want about Adobe stock licenses, usage terms, and so on. So you could actually kind of plan a lesson about copyright just based around using stuff from here. All right, okay. And that also explains why, you know, if you search for Batman in media, they're not going to get it. But, you know, as disappointing as that may be to our learners, that's an important lesson, isn't it? That they can't find a Batman video in here. And you can discuss with them about the reasons why. And then if you want to, you could lead them to something like Google Images to find an image of Batman. And that there's a conversation about the fact that they are going to knowingly bring that image in, knowing that they probably shouldn't. And obviously that's fine for education use. You're fine to do that for education use. But I think it's really important that we teach our learners what they shouldn't be doing as adults. Okay. Wow, that was a tangent. I got on a soapbox there. Sorry about that. Right. So I've got my video here. What else can I add? Well, let's pop over to the audio tab here. Okay. And in the audio tab, you've got loads of different sound effects and background music. So maybe I could bring in, and let's audition this. What's this? I'm not hearing that now. Why am I not hearing it? Are you hearing it?
No,
maybe you're hearing it and I'm not hearing it. Not sure. Right. I should be hearing that. Maybe my speakers are doing something else. Right. Anyway, to add that music, so I would be able to hear it, to add that to my timeline, I just click on the name of the track that I want. So matching bagpipes, for example. There we are. Let's bring that in. And you can see it's popped it there on my timeline. As simple as that. You can add a voiceover. So that's as simple as, again, going to the media. So remember, everything I've showed you so far is just media, text, and elements on the left-hand side. So under the media tab, where we searched for photos earlier, where we searched for videos just now, you could also search for audio, for music, but you've got this record voiceover button as well. So let's record a voiceover in here. Counts me down from 3. Hello, my name is Meredith, and here is my project all about the great white shark. Finish recording, and you can see there now that's down on my timeline, and my learners could kind of move it around. Maybe they wanted it in a bit later or a bit earlier. Maybe that's enough, and this scene is ended once my voiceover's finished. So I want to cut off this back end of this clip, so I can just trim that back like that. And there we go. Okay, I've just edited that scene now. I've got my music, I've got my voiceover, and I've got this cool video playing as well. I probably want some text in there, so I could just add some text exactly as you would on that earlier project, the great white shark. You've got exactly the same text editor as earlier. Remember, it's the same app. It's the same editor. So I can search for recommended fonts again. Is it going to give me that one again? Yes, it is. Thank goodness for that. Wouldn't be able to handle it if that was a different one. Let's just change the color super quick. Bring in an outline. You can use the color picker. Remember me using this pipette to grab that dark blue? You could even use that to grab a color from your video clip. Okay, that's fun. Right, so I've done that. so I can play this scene now. Okay, there we go. I'm not hearing it. I think I've done something funny with my sound. Yeah, so we've got music over the video. That's exactly what I did there. That's what this clip here is, this matching bagpipes, which I wish I could hear because it sounds amazing. That's what that is there. So you got the music, and you can search for all the music from inside Express again. So you don't have to go and find. I always used to send my kids to bensound.com. It was the only website with free music that I'd send them to, and they'd all use the same track, and it'd drive me up the wall. So you've got all of that inside media, audio, loads and loads and hundreds of different songs. This text isn't moving, which seems a bit disappointing now that we've got a video going on, doesn't it? So you can animate anything in Express as well. So if I choose my text and scroll down to the bottom, you can see I've got animation. So here I can choose, right, how do I want this text to arrive? Maybe I want it to spin onto the page. Yeah. What do I want it to do whilst it's there? Maybe I want it to bob around because it's under the water. That's cool. If that's bobbing around too much, you can go into the settings, bring down the speed and the intensity of the bob. And then do I want that text to fly out at the end? Maybe I do. Maybe I want it to spin away at the end as well. So now, just by clicking a few buttons, we've got music, a voiceover that none of us can hear, and the text that's animated in is bobbing around and animating out. Okay? If I want to add another clip, it's as simple as clicking Add Scene, and I've got another blank page where I can add whatever I want in here. Go into Media, go into Videos, search again. I can upload a video. If they've been filming a piece to camera, they can upload it. They can remove the background from that video and put a kind of ocean floor background behind them. You know, it really is kind of only bound by their imagination and their creativity. Right, okay. I'm doing okay. It's 4:43. So that's videos. Oh, right, sharing videos. Now, again, as with the graphic, you can download this. Now, of course, this time you're going to want to download it as an MP4 file. So that'll give you the video file itself. Or if you'd rather your learners share it with you through Classroom and Teams, they could do that. And again, you can click View Only Link, and it'll publish a URL that'll basically take whoever clicks it to that published video online. It's a really nice way of sharing your kids' video projects online. Right, great. Any questions about video, then fire away, throw them into the chat or shout at me on your microphone. That's fine. Again, remember, I didn't name my project because I'm really terrible at remembering to do that, but it doesn't matter, okay? It's been saving every single thing I've been doing all along, so I can change this to Great White Shark Explainer video or whatever I want to call it. Right, let's have a look at one final thing today, which is web pages. Okay, now then, in the chat, I've posted a link to this. Here we go. Oh, days. That was, don't need this bit. So again, if your learners have done an extended piece of writing, so here's an example of an extended piece of writing here. Oh, thanks, Eva. Thank you for popping that in again. Can it be shared as a QR code? That is an excellent question that I should have told you about. Yes, it can. So any URL at all can be shared as a QR code. Okay, so basically in Express, share it with a view-only link. Once you have that view-only link, on the dashboard here, you click on the blue plus in the top left-hand corner, and then we go to Quick Actions, Generate QR Code, paste that in, and that'll create a QR code, as simple as that. Okay, and you don't have to use random QR code generator websites which link to your page right now, but maybe in a month's time links to some spammy ads or something like that. So if you're using QR codes in any shape or form, producing those within Express is a much safer way of doing it than using any kind of random QR code websites, which can be a minefield in terms of, online safety. Oh, great. Yeah, comment there. Thanks, Eva. Uses the QR code generator in Express a lot. very easy and lots of options. Yeah, I just like the fact you can choose some colors, and then it just downloads it as a PNG. Yeah, I use it all the time as well. Brilliant. Okay, so the final thing that I want to show you is building a web page. Now, what I haven't looked at today is actually two of my absolute favorite things in Express, which you'd be fair enough to ask why I wouldn't do that. But it's animate your voice, where you can animate characters using your voice, and also drawing. Drawing in Express is amazing. We've just run out of time. Okay. Any plans for fading out music and audio? Yeah, that is on the way. That's on the way. The team, the engineering team, are working on that. It's kind of the biggest request with video editing is that we can fade out the audio at the end. So yeah, I don't know when, but they say it's coming soon. So I don't know what soon means, but yeah, that's on the way. Right, so animate your voice is super fun. If you want to play around with anything on your own, I would definitely have a mess around with that. Kids love it, teachers love it. That's great. Drawing is incredible, and we've got a whole set of drawing tutorials on YouTube as well. So if you pop to that lesson packs link, that takes you to Dom's YouTube channel. On there, you'll also see a drawing tutorial playlist. And I love drawing in Express. It's maybe my favorite thing. Right, but now we're going to look at building a web page, because this is definitely a way you can take something that your learners have made that maybe they worked really hard on, but it's just sitting in an exercise book, and it's not kind of having the fanfare that it deserves. So this is an example of a 200-word challenge where we've been learning about electricity, and then we give them this 200 words challenge where we just give them 4 open-ended questions, and they aim to produce roughly 50 words on each question, which gives them a 200-word piece of writing. So they've worked quite hard on this. What can we do to kind of jazz this up, make it look presented in a really interesting way? Well, creating a web page is really quick and easy and presents anything like this in a really professional manner. Right, so we've got the purple tile here, build a web page. So when I click on that, it takes me to this pop-up. You can start off with a theme. Okay, so they're quite fun. But to show you how easy it is, I'll just create from scratch. That button right at the bottom there, create from scratch. Okay, so what I'm going to show you now is just how easy it is to copy and paste something that I've written here. It's in a Google Doc, and it looks a bit miserable. And let's just pop it over. So my title is How Can We Save Electricity? And then it's by Chris Yules. So let's just paste that in as a subtitle. Now then, that background, that grey rectangle, is very minimalist, but I'd rather it kind of tell me something about what we're going to learn about. So if I click on this little plus icon at the bottom of the screen, choose photo, then I can search in here for electricity. And then I've got 3,329 results. Again, it's the same Adobe stock library of images there. You can see it looks a bit pixelated there. It's because it kind of loads up a low quality version super quick, so you can carry on working. And then within a few seconds, as you can see, it flicks over to the high quality version. Right, now then, this is a web page. So if you were visiting this website and you saw this title, if you wanted to read more, then we would scroll down, right? That's what we all know how to use a website. So when you're building a web page in Express, you actually build it in the same way that somebody would read it. I scroll down and Express asks me, okay, what do you want to add next to your web page? And the options are really straightforward. If you've never seen this before, it probably all makes sense to you already, okay? You can have a big photo, a big piece of text, a button that takes you to another website or whatever you want. You can put animated GIFs in there. A video, so if you've got a YouTube video, a Vimeo video, or a video they've made in Express, that view-only link, you can use that to embed the video in here. So you could use this, if your learners have been making videos, you as a teacher could then put a web page together and embed everyone's video in there and have this kind of class gallery of all of their videos. It's really fun. Photo grids, like a gallery. Glide show is like a slideshow of images, and then a split layout and your stuff. So let's look at split layout first of all. So split layout is basically going to give you an image on the left and then kind of these options on the right. And most of the time, that's just maybe just going to be straightforward text. So let's grab this first block of text, this first question and answer. What is electricity? I'm just going to paste it in there. Now then, this title, this question needs to look a bit different. So when I click anywhere in this what is electricity piece of text, I've got header 1, header 2, and quote. Okay? And again, it keeps things nice and simple. I can't go in there and change fonts and take half an hour scrolling through fonts as I would. I've just got these 3 options. Okay? So I'll leave it there maybe as that kind of quotation because that works with that question. And then I can add an image on the left-hand side. It's still there talking about electricity, so I can just grab one of those, pop it in. And you can see how easy it is to take that extended piece of writing and present it in a really nice professional way. Again, I haven't given it a title, but Express is saving this all the time. So at any point, I can just rename that if I want. What's really nice as well is that this is totally responsive. So if I view this, let's do that. If I preview it, and if I resize my browser, you can see this is what it would look like on a mobile phone. Excuse my calendar there, guys. So you can see that it's kind of stacked now, the image on top of the text box. And it's done that in a responsive way. So if you want to make a kind of school newsletter or class newsletter to share with parents, again, from just your point of view, this would be a great way to do that because obviously if parents are looking at it on their phones, it'll look nice. If they're looking at it on a computer screen, it'll look nice and responsive like this. Sharing that, as you'd expect, is just as simple as clicking share, publish to web, and that'll give them, again, that view-only link. Adding more sections, just scroll down, add another split layout. This time it's swapped them around, images on the right and the text on the left. If you've got any video clips that you want to put in, like, for example, this one. Again, it's just as simple as clicking on the plus, video, and pasting that in. Oops. Oh, yes. It doesn't like that link. I've done this before. I should change the link, really, shouldn't I? Let's just grab that. Yeah, there we go. It's not a YouTube link. That's the problem. Anyway, it would put it in there. Believe me, guys, it would. Right. Okay, any questions at all? It is 5:02, so we got 5 minutes. So anything at all you want me to go over again? I know I've really rushed through that. Any questions at all, then fire them in. Anything you'd like me to show again, just let me know. Anything you're confused about. If you're excited with this, then again, please, join in your Scotland-specific live lessons. That's amazing that the Glow team are putting those on for you. Nothing like that happens anywhere else in the UK. There are specific live lessons going on, so that's amazing. Then also we've got our timetable of live lessons. Just come along, try it out. A lot of schools as well, they drop off halfway through if you think it's a bit long. So we've got 2 activities in each live lesson. So a lot of schools will just come along for the first one and then drop off the call. Amazing resource, love all the quick actions, all in one place. Yeah, it is. So, this is definitely something, the first focus is how can learners use this? But also, that once you start digging down, the stuff you can do here that help you to do your job are amazing as well. Things like in the quick actions, you can edit PDFs. So if you've got PDF worksheets and you'd really like to change some stuff about them, but you can't because it's a PDF, just drag it into Express and edit the PDF. Okay. If you want to do some quick stuff like caption a video. So if you've got some video files that you want to use in class, but you want it to be more accessible, and you need captions to be in there, you can drag any video clip into here, up to 1 gig, 5 minutes long, and that'll caption it for you. That's amazing. If you want to do things like resize a video, merge them, merge 2 clips together, crop stuff down, convert, the quick actions is a mine of things for you to be able to do to help you out. What have we got here? Any questions at all? Yeah, Eva's popping some links in there for you. So you've got, what have we got there? The Glow, what can I create stuff? And the AI, yeah, we haven't even looked at AI tonight. AI, if you want to experiment with AI in your class and you're scared of doing it, and there's plenty of reasons to be scared of doing it because, again, of copyright and of inappropriate images being produced, then we've got AI text to image generation within Express. You can see that's what this kind of cartoon thing on my desktop here is. Bring your kids' writing to life. If they've been, if they're writing, creating a location, then get them to pop their location in there and see what it produces. And if that doesn't match up with what your learners had in mind, then maybe they need to add more adjectives in. Maybe they need to describe things in a different way and add more detail. And it shows them the power of adjectives in their own work. Right, I'll be quiet because I'm blathering on here, and I'm not sure if anybody has something to say.
Thanks so much, Meredith. Thank you. I've just stopped the recording.